Welcome back to another edition of Everything Football 62. I'm your host, Jonathan Big Tex Johnson. I'm going to do a quick week roundup. Meant to do it the other night, got caught up doing some other stuff of the past week of the games and whatever and whatnot, and then touch on some of this ridiculous Hall of Fame voting that I just keep, I have to talk about it, and it really doesn't make any sense at the end of the day. First things first, I was really was hoping that the Chiefs, the Chiefs, even though that game that was completely ridiculous, the offensive explosion of Kansas City is getting to a point I've never seen too much like it, especially if they go ahead and win it all. It's nothing like it, and then you got years of that guy Mahomes and whatnot. You still got a lot of years with that guy, so it's going to be scary on how to if everything keeps going the way it goes with them guys. He's gonna be a sight to marvel at. But the Ravens in Tennessee, man, like I said, everybody wants to throw a lot of the blame and whatnot on Lamar Jackson. I mean, he put up a lot of yards. It was empty. You could say empty calories, as some people say, but I mean, he do what he can do. But like I told somebody brought that up. I said last I checked, Lamar Jackson don't play safety or cornerback, so he don't play on defense, and meaning that. He doesn't. Well, put it this way, he doesn't have to play linebacker because there wasn't no balls thrown for the secondary to really do anything. They got it handed to them. They got their tails. They got their tails whipped right up front, man. They got their asses handed to them. Derrick Henry just ran them guys over. Them guys did not want none of that. They didn't want any of it, and he just ran the ball down their throat. And Lamar made some mistakes here and there and whatnot. Fumbling the ball, but some of them in 6 drop balls. Come on, man. You can't win like that. Them guys was catching them balls just a few weeks ago. I think them guys was off a little bit too long and whatnot. And while on the subject of it, I'm going to just throw the picks out there. Like I said, the whole thing with, of course, we spoke about, the Kansas City-Houston game. And if you talk about that of the San Francisco and what I already told you guys, all of that kind of stuff there, man. And what was going to happen with that particular situation anyhow. So, it was what it was. But, dude, it's just like, and then you look up and you see, these guys, like I say, these guys, you got Green Bay, and Green Bay beating Seattle. I figured that I wanted Seattle to win, but it's going to be hard to win up there in Lambeau Field. And not only to win up there in Lambeau Field, and of course, like I said, Russell Wilson, he's a guy who just runs out of time if they lose. If they get the ball again, they could have did something. I think they gave that spot to Graham. I think he was short. His knee was down before he reached before he stretched out and got that first down. He'd have been about a yard short, but they gave it to him anyway. And I don't think they would have. They had to have it. Aaron Rodgers made them throws that he's capable of doing, and I still think, and I think Aaron Rodgers. I think they have a revenge game, and plus, like I said, Aaron Rodgers he doesn't. Not saying he don't have a lot left, but I'm like the window is getting smaller. The window's getting smaller for him to try to get Super Bowl, and you don't get those records like that. And I think he's getting ready to play his best ball now. So with that being said, I got Green Bay over the Niners, and I got Kansas City over Tennessee. That's who I got going. It's a State Farm. It's gonna be a State Farm Super Bowl, right? With the quarterbacks. But now on to the subject at hand. It's they come out to the Hall of Fame stuff and everything. There's supposed to be 20 guys going to commemorate 100 years in the. For the NFL football and everything, and have 20 people in there for the 1920, 20 people, 2020, all that stuff, right? It's crazy. I saw the finals list, and the people that I wanted to get in did not get in. You literally pulled a Hail Mary, no pun intended, talking about Drew Pearson, but a Hail Mary. Who's seen Harold Carmichael? Can anybody honestly tell me who's seen Harold Carmichael being even really talked about in the Hall of Fame thing? I never would think about it. Carmichael played a long time, had a couple of seasons and whatnot, and that was pretty much it. In the probably 78, 79, and 80. Those are the 79, 80, 81, or something to that effect like that. That was a Dick Vermeil, got there and whatnot. But for a long time, played on some pathetic Eagles teams, and that was it. And I don't, but if, I don't know, man. It's hard to say. Wide receivers at the 70s, it's hard to say. But them guys getting, it's not really going to be a numbers thing with them, because them guys really didn't have those type of major numbers. Guy like Paul Warfield, guys like that in there. Because Warfield, they didn't throw the ball that much, but when they did, his average was 20 yards a whop. And he went to 3 Super Bowls and won 2. So I can see that. So, but like I said, if Lynn Swann is in the Hall of Fame, Lynn Swann and John Stallworth is in the Hall of Fame, and it took them guys a long time to get in the Hall of Fame. Truth be told, everybody should know that. Them guys was not first ballot Hall of Famers by no means of the imagination, because they didn't have the numbers for it to be first ballot Hall of Fame. That's why it took them so long. So if it took them so long, but I don't understand. So if you put Swann in, then you would have to put Cliff Branch in. You would have to put Drew Pearson in. I haven't even brought up Harold Jackson, who played Rams, Eagles, and several different teams from the late 60s up until the 80s. I don't know, man. The whole process is ridiculous. Congratulations as a Cowboys fan. See Cliff Harris get up in there. I never thought he was going to ever get in there to begin with, but he got in there. I think Donnie Shell should have gotten up in there. Them guys were one of the top safeties in there at that time, in their peaks and whatnot. Donnie Shell, he'll rock you. Captain Crash did his thing and whatnot. Still a tragedy that Drew Pearson didn't get in. I always would think that's a long shot. I think they really hold against Drew Pearson the fact that Drew Pearson only won 1 Super Bowl after being in like 3 of them, and they only won 1. And I think they hold that against him because his numbers are better than Swann's. He played a little bit longer than Swann, and all that. I say so. I don't get how he's not in the Hall of Fame. But here we go again. I've already done a piece on this. I broke it down and everything like that. Somebody, some old head that so happens to see this that really knows football, explain to me how Chuck Howley's not in the Hall of Fame. And this is not just from a fan standpoint of view. This comes from, if you do your due diligence, and you'll see it's like there's no way. But again, Chris Handberg is in the Hall of Fame, and Dave Wilcox is in the Hall of Fame. They all played the same position. Fun fact, real quick. When Chuck Howley was doing this thing, he made his bones basically from 65 to 71. This was his case, a 6-year stretch, 6-7-year stretch, right? He was the top outside linebacker in the game. Stats and all that stuff prove that. Dallas, from that standpoint, from 65 to 71. Now, I think he retired in 73. But I'm talking about his best years, his best 6 or 7 year run from 65 to 71. You're talking about somebody that was named All-Pro 6 times, 5 times first team, 1 time second team. Okay? Now, the Dallas Cowboys team would be 70-26. Howley played in 4 NFL championship games and has a ring. First defensive player to ever win an MVP in a Super Bowl. First player to ever win a defensive player to win MVP on a losing team. Okay? Let that sink in for a second. You were the best player on the field that particular day. And you was a defensive player, which has always go to offense. You was a defensive player and you did it on the losing team. Now, combine that, so the next year they play the Miami Dolphins in Super Bowl 6. And he could have easily been it again. Listen to this, ladies and gentlemen, mostly gentlemen, obviously. You're talking about in 2 games, Howley accounted for 5 turnovers. He had 2 interceptions and a fumble in the Super Bowl 5. And then he had another interception and a fumble in Super Bowl 6. 5 turnovers. Name me a player in back-to-back in 2 games. I'm not talking about guys who and I don't even know if there's any, who accounted for 5 turnovers. 5. In two Super Bowls, back-to-back games, 2 games, he accounted for 5 turnovers. That's subsequently 2.5 turnovers a game. Right? Come on, man. And he's not in the Hall of Fame? I read off what he did. The team was 70-26, and Dallas was their defense, the doomsday defense. That was a top 5 defense. And he was one of the cogs in there. And you mean to tell me he's not in the Hall of Fame? Now, them other guys, Wilcox, Chris Hamburger, them guys, look, man, them guys was great linebackers and all that in their own right. But I'm gonna tell you something. They're not holding. It's like, you know, they're not holding a candle to what Howley did on the team, mind you. You know, it's like it just doesn't make any sense on how come this person is not in there and whatnot. So you're talking about Dave Wilcox. Again, I've already done this before, but just for those who don't know, 7-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro. Now, I'm sure he's All-Pro second team, but he was only 2 times first team, 2 times. And you can go look up those 49ers teams. Those 49ers teams wasn't anything back during that time. They had a couple years, early 70s, when I think Dallas played them in the NFC Championship game. But I'm like, no, them teams were dreadful. They were dreadful back during that particular time. So you had that whole situation with that. And so you're supposed to make people better, as they say. And I'm not taking anything away from from those guys. I'm only putting out as like, how do Hamburger, 9-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All-Pro. He's in the Hall of Fame, but Chuck Howley isn't in the Hall of Fame. And these guys' teams did not have the success, the postseason success, as Chuck Howley had with the Cowboys from 65 to 73, and in his best years from 65 to 71. Come on, man. What are we talking about here? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Again, these are guys that came into the league. Both of them guys came into 65. Well, that's when Chuck Howley was getting ready. That's when Chuck Howley would start emerging as one of the top defensive players, top outside linebackers in the game. So again, like I said, when you break that stuff down, when you break all of that stuff down like that, it makes no sense. It makes no sense at all that those guys are in there before him, and he was on the winning team. Howley, 6-time Pro Bowler, 5-time All-Pro first team, Super Bowl champ, and I named all the stuff. And how does he get that? And nobody has an explanation about that right now. There's no explanation for it. You see what I'm saying? There's none. So it baffles me on how that happens. Doesn't make any sense. And another thing, real quick, and I'm gonna wind this up real quick. Doesn't make any sense that Terrell Owens should not be one of the top wide receivers of all of the first 100 years of the game. I agree with the list. Where I disagree with, and I like this guy as a player or whatever, but that list should have easily had Terrell Owens on it for what he did, how he did it, and his resume speaks for itself. You're talking about a guy that guy had 10,000 yard seasons, 153 touchdowns. If he was going to be over, if I'm gonna remove anybody off that list of the modern day time, if I'm gonna remove anybody off that list, I'm going to take Steve Largent off that list. Now, I could say Larry Fitzgerald, and I like Larry Fitzgerald, but I can't sit up there and say there's a time when Larry Fitzgerald, bar none, was the best wide receiver for a 5 or 6 year run. I can't say that. Maybe a year or two when they had made that magic run and whatnot, and the stuff that he did, he's up there. But but he's played so long, so he's going to be crushing record because he's playing so long. But I'd leave him on that, but I'm like, Steve Largent couldn't be. I know Steve Largent did 100. He came up, he ended up breaking the record. And I think that means a lot because he broke the record because the record stayed around so long. Terrell Owens has 53 more touchdowns than Steve Largent. Let that sink in. Let that 53 more touchdowns than he has. How do you exclude him from that? How do you exclude him from that? You see what I'm saying? So again, man, that's my little rant right there. I say that again, them guys have an issue with T.O., and that's just the name of the game. But but we'll see what happens though, man. But yeah, like I tell you guys all the time, subscribe to the channel, like, share, and all that good stuff. And like I say all the time, man, there's no greatest of all time as long as time's still going on. And numbers don't lie and get emotional. People do. Catch y'all after the game.